This is MJ. I love Star Wars, and right now I want to talk about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 7, Episode 7. I guess it's lucky number 7. There's so much I want to say about this. I'm going to try to constrain myself to 5 minutes, so I'm going to pull down my clock real quick. Okay, got about 5 minutes to talk about this. First of all, I really like this episode. The purpose of pairing Ahsoka with Trace and Rafa has become more apparent to me as we have progressed through this arc. I'm seeing the context that she needs to be confronted with in order for her worldview to change and for her to become the character she ultimately becomes. So, I mean, you should have watched the episode already if you're checking out this review. I'm not going to go into the details of what Trace told her happened with her family and why, the Martez sisters are on their own like they are. But given the context and given the response that they got from a Jedi, which was basically, I had to make a choice, the Force will be with you, like the Force will guide you, that is so paltry and so cold and so inadequate and insufficient. I can totally understand why these people would turn against the Jedi conceptually, and maybe even, all topsiders, which is what's happened to them. And the reason, basically, is because there was such a tremendous lack of compassion from the Jedi when they found out, oh my goodness, I think I'm watching baby birds fly. No, these are adults, but they have a nest and it's beautiful. Wow. Anyway, it's interrupting. Nature is distracting me from my Clone Wars review. Anyway, the coldness of the Jedi and the lack of compassion is shocking, and I would think that this, conversation that the Jedi had with them after the incident would have happened, not while they were in the middle of action, so they could have come back and sat down with them and helped them get through things, but they didn't choose to do that, and that's really sad, and that's, terrible. Let's see, what other comments are good? So, real quick, I really like the Pykes as these enemy forces, these, this new group of gangsters. I wonder if they were chosen or created in the Clone Wars because, can I help you? I wonder if they were chosen in the Clone Wars because, Jabba and the Hutts are really big and really ungainly and aren't, it doesn't make sense to have them be a group of gangsters who's running around fighting and stuff when they've got these giant slug bodies. I mean, I think the idea of the Hutts is neat, but then the idea of the Pykes is better because they're so alien and so creepy looking, and man, this boss guy of the Pykes just looks so mean and nasty, and I think he's a very effective character, and I think that's great. We got, what are these ladies called? Bo-Katan and her crew? Are they the Night Owls, the Night Watch, the Night Convours, or I can't remember what they're called, but they make appearance here. They get Ahsoka in their heads-up display, which I love heads-up display showing up on TV stuff. It's so great. I love it. Anyway, but it's cool to see them. I wonder if this is going to directly fold Ahsoka into an adventure on Mandalore or something like that against, who, the leader of Mandalore. And then the last thing is I really enjoyed seeing, I think we got introduced to Obadiah or whatever they're calling it in the Clone Wars, whatever Tom Kane calls it, in his narrator voice. I can't remember. See how okay, I got to stop soon. Give myself 2 more minutes. Anyway, I really like the glimpses that we saw of it here. I feel like we got way less sight of it, way less of it when it originally appeared, which is when Anakin and Obi-Wan were searching out Sifo Dyas, I think during Season 6, the Lost Mission episodes, and we barely got to glimpse it, but they did fight the Pykes there, and that was interesting, dealing with them, and just seeing more of their world, the city part of their world was really interesting, and their torture droid, it feels pretty familiar to me, but I don't want to dwell on that. Just overall, I really enjoyed it. So, the fortune cookie for the episode was who you were does not define who you are. Does not have to define who you are. And I really like that idea. It's interesting because it cuts both ways. Trace and Rafa were brought up a certain way, and then something happened to them, and it changed them from who they were into who they currently are. And that's kind of a pessimistic version of it, that this tragedy happened to them and it forever shifted who they are. And then for Ahsoka, sort of something tragic has happened to her. She's left her, monastic order by force, basically, and no pun intended there. And her life is going to change, and who she is as a person is going to change, and maybe for the better. I'm not saying the Jedi are fundamentally flawed. We could have huge, long, drawn-out conversations about that, and I'd be happy to at some other time. But yeah, I think it's a really great fortune cookie. I like the implications of it. I like the fact that it cuts both ways, and that this pair of sisters plus Ahsoka, like, seeing their stories run in parallel to each other, or seeing them run up in parallel, seeing the contrast between them, or the comparison between them, really enriches the idea of what's going on with Ahsoka in her life and what has happened with them, and the fortune cookie ties it all together. So I wonder if they stop calling it the fortune cookie, because that might be taken as culturally insensitive now. It's been a long time since Clone Wars started. According to the Disney Plus app information, it officially started in 2008, which I guess is true, but I thought the movie was in 2007. I don't know anymore, folks. But that's all I have to say. I'm going to let you go. Let me know if you liked this arc, if you thought it was too slow, if it wasn't actiony enough, or if it was too much action, like wall-to-wall action, because I know some people were complaining about that in the Bad Batch arc, but I really liked it. It was fast-paced, it was more intense, and, that's what we like here in Star Wars land, right? Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I'm looking forward to the next episode and the dramatic conclusion to this arc. I do want to talk real quick about the fact that where's my spiel? I have a little spiel for you. I'll just read it real quick and then I'll show off my stuff. So, if you're just here for the review, you don't care about anything else, you're free to go. Thank you for your attention and your time. But if you'd like to, invest a little in me as I've invested time into producing this for you, that would be great too. So listen up. MJLF Star Wars can be found with Swing Through Comics on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and mjwinners.com/STC for now. Check out mjwinners.com for more of my work. I have multiple podcasts and original works of fiction there. I'm an aspiring author who will gladly accept your financial support through coffee, or you can buy Star Wars merch and other merch from my Redbubble store. Relevant links are in the show notes. If you had a good time, like and share this. Please subscribe to help me grow. Comment to tell me I'm wrong, help me improve, or just talk Star Wars with me. And remember, in balance lies power to hear the dark and walk in light. And I gotta say, the whole spice thing, it can be used for good or ill. The Pykes use it for drugs and stuff, and it destroys people's lives. Like, man, you know what destroys people's lives? Sugar, soda, chocolate, candy, alcohol, cars destroy people. Like, I want to have a big discussion about that, but anyway, if I were on a bigger show or I had a co-host, we could talk about, the war on drugs and things like that in the context of Star Wars. And I would actually like to know more about how spice works and what all its details are in the world of Star Wars. I think there was a couple Han Solo books that dealt with that, but I'm not going to go back and read those just yet. Anyway, I mentioned I have other podcasts. There's a couple about tokusatsu stuff. There's a couple Kamen Rider ones. There's the comics one that I talk about Star Wars comics and other comics there, mostly Marvel stuff. I also have an Ultraman podcast. Ultraman is a Japanese tokusatsu, so live-action special effects superhero from the late 60s, and he's going to be getting a Marvel comic. Also is seeing worldwide, or at least in the U.S., which matters to me because that's where I live, releases of that. There's also official releases of Kamen Rider, which is the other tokusatsu thing that I review and talk about in my other podcast. And then I've got an anime podcast covering Mobile Fighter G Gundam. So you can check all those out. There's links to those all over the place. And then I mentioned the merch before. I'm running way over time, sorry. I've got just some designs I made. My little motto at the end of the show, in balance lies power to hear the dark and walk in light. I made a cool laser sword and crystal little emblem. I've got this quote from Luke from one of the comics where he says, "The light side is a blade, and so am I," when he's beating up the Knights of Ren. So you can get that on anything from Redbubble, and I think those are really cool. And if you want to support me, if you think they're cool, you can check them out and get them for yourself. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Goodbye for now, folks, and thank you for your time. Especially if you stuck all the way through the end. If you stuck all the way through the end, throw me a hashtag YOLO solo. No, I don't know. Never mind. Don't do it. I'm a fool. Goodbye.